I'm excited for today and all the things we get to learn from each other. The ground rules for table topics is that you'll be able to choose a slip of paper. Bart has 4 options. I'm going to have 4 options. With those options, you're going to have a minute and a half. Wait, after 1 minute, the green light comes on, correct? And after a minute and a half, the yellow light comes on. And at 2 minutes, the red light comes on. But with that red light, you still have 30 seconds to wrap up. Okay? So 1 minute, the green light comes on. Minute and a half, the yellow comes on. 2 minutes, the red light comes on. And 2.5, if you go over 2.5, you're disqualified. How we will do this is Bart will come up first and do his 4 topics that he's prepared. What's that look, Bart? I'm going first. Okay, you'll choose from my 4 topics first. And after we finish those 4 topics, then they're on the same theme. We will vote. Then Bart will come up and do his 4th. So 4 of you who didn't participate in the previous topics will get to participate, and then we will vote on that. And from there, yes?
Who's the vote counter?
Vote counter.
Yeah.
I'm new to this job, and I didn't sign anyone. Would you like to be the vote counter, the boot counter? Boot. Great. So Stephen will be our vote counter today.
Since he made us our voting packets.
Yes, our voting packets. He distributed our voting packets. Yes. And I do have more paper, so if there's any issues, did you get your voting packet of 8 slips of paper? Fabulous. Sam? Then, after we have chosen the top 4, the top 2 from my category, the top 2 from Bart's category, those 4 will have a face-off, and Jesse has given us in a sealed envelope the topics for our final round. Okay?
So it's the same question, and so we will do like a regular table topic competition. We'll take the 4 out,
Downstairs,
one at a time, come up with it.
outside, then you will be invited to come up so that no one hears. Yes, that's how they do it in the actual table topics competition.
And are we staying in the 1 hour? Are we aiming for the 1 hour?
We are aiming
So we
for
better
the... Yes, all right, so here we go. Here's the 4, your first 4 topics. This has to do with, since we're just wrapping up the summer, I was at the high school today to make sure my son was signed up for all the right classes. We're going to talk about family vacations or vacations in general. So each one of these 4 have something to do with the theme of vacation. Who wants to come first? Okay.
Sure.
Okay, Weston, come on up.
See how many uhs and ahs and ums I can get. You want me to read it aloud?
Sure.
Okay, so you are going to an amusement park. Which one is it? Who is with you? And what rides do you want to go on? So with this, my goal is just to simply paint this picture, basically. Or
Oh, yeah, you can take it however you want to, but
Yeah, you
that's
can
sort of
turn it
leads you
whatever
in a direction. It could be a personal experience, it could be made up, it could...
Okay. Alrighty, let's get going on this thing. Give me a minute while I attempt to recombobulate my thoughts.
Very good.
So my family and I are big into, I would call it, staying together. You know, a lot of parents, they're very big on getting away from their kids as often as they can, and I support that entirely, in fact. But for whatever reason, my wife and I, when we're away from our children for too long, we tend to get, I don't want to say depressed, but something near that line. We love having our kids around us. We just love the vibrancy that they bring to our homes, and we love the entertainment that they provide. And so this year we have a trip planned next month to go down to SeaWorld. And now SeaWorld isn't necessarily one of great amusements in terms of roller coasters. They do have a few, I think. I couldn't care less, to be honest, whether roller coasters are, as much as I love them. But I'm most excited about those for the entertainment that I'll be experiencing for my new, nearly 2-year-old baby. Not new, but my 2-year-old when he sees the size of an orca up next to him. Because he gets so excited when he looks at these things on the TV or as we read books to him. My oldest son, who turned 7 this year, he's just so excited. His number 1 goal for this year in kindergarten was that he could swim in the ocean. And so family vacations to me mean much more than just the entertainment provided, but it's the opportunity to spend the quality time with my kids. It's something special to see something, the light that shines in their eyes when they get to see something new for them. Because it's not every day you see an orca swimming by. It's not every day you get to swim with a dolphin or potentially go diving in the ocean. And so family vacations are critical, I think. So many people want to ignore them and just make it sound like something that they do when they want to spoil their kids. But family vacations allow families to grow. They allow kids to bond with their parents and with each other. And so I'm entirely excited to spend a 12-hour drive. We're going to fly, but we decided to drive. A 12-hour drive down to San Diego and with my children watch some whales, some dolphins, and go swimming in the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Bart,
If
come
I'm
on
gonna
up.
participate, I gotta participate in yours.
Okay, all right.
You are planning a vacation with your travel agent. What kind of vacation do you want to plan, and who do you go with? Obviously, I go with my wife, because that's who I would go with, not my girlfriend. And can you give me a no lie? Thanks. So obviously, I go with my wife. For me, I like the cruise thing, because it's all in one place, it's all the food you want, it's just everything all together. Now my wife, when she wants to travel, she only wants to go to Japan and visit her family. So we might be going separately now that I think about it. She'll go to Japan, I'm going on the cruise. But we did take a cruise down to Cabo once, and it was amazing. It was, like I said, you have everything. You have the comedy entertainment at night, or the music at night. You have the buffet. You have everything all there in one place. We stopped at, it's the Acapulco, I think is where we stopped at that port. We got off and we went and we were walking down the street, and guy sees us and he says, "I got what you need." And he said it was cheap, cheaper than in the States. It was a Viagra pill. I did not realize that I needed that already. He thought I needed it. And it was cheaper than in the States. So, but I like the cruising. That's what I would do.
So my husband started a business on cruise ships because he likes cruising. He taught computer classes for a year and a half while I was home with 6 kids. And finally I said, you know, this wasn't really the arrangement I signed up for. You're off on these exotic things and I'm back here with macaroni and cheese. So they say, I've never been on a cruise. You ready to try one, Mark? Okay. All right.
All right. What is one of the most memorable family vacations and why? Okay. When I was 8 years old, we traveled to California. We were doing this big road trip. We were going from the Oregon coast all the way down into California and then going on to what is called the Rubicon Trail. It's a very famous jeeping trail that runs through California up into Lake Tahoe. This is one of my most memorable family trips for not necessarily a good reason. We spent time on the Oregon coast. We went to the beach and my dad was doing some work on the Jeep. It was this custom Jeep, stood about this high up off the ground, big tires, totally custom. It had a V8 engine from a Corvette, sounded beautiful, just very fun. And he was doing some work on it so that we could get ready for this trip down the Rubicon Trail. And in the morning, he was up early, around 6 o'clock, and I got up, you know, as an 8-year-old, around 8, 9 o'clock. No one else was up, and my dad said, hey, now that I fixed it, it's time for us to go test it out. So we drove it down to the Jeep, and my dad gets the bright idea that he's going to teach his 8-year-old son how to do a donut on the beach. So he teaches me how to do that, and I did great for the first couple times until the Jeep rolled. then the Jeep landed on his foot that was hanging outside of the door.
Oh,
And it
no.
smashed it. And I, as an 8-year-old child, just in this car accident, had to get out of the Jeep and walk a mile back home to try and find somebody. And on my way, I got picked up by the ambulance who had been called. Anyway, needless to say, this was quite a memorable experience for me as an 8-year-old child to be taken into an ambulance and have gone through that experience. We spent the next week and a half at my grandma's, or my aunt and uncle's house who live in Washington, going through the hospital. And it was one of those moments that I really bonded with my family because we were forced together in this explosion, and we had to recombobulate ourselves and try to get back together. And so that was by far my most memorable family experience.
All right, we have one last. Yep, one last. Who's going to do it? Patrick. Are you going to take over the timing for him?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Patrick.
Okay.
There you go.
I'll forget that I can't do this one. You're on a road trip. Where are you going? And why is it going to be so much fun? Probably because I'm with my wife. My wife makes really simple, average trips into a lot of fun. This summer we went to Puerto Rico for our 5th wedding anniversary, and it was amazing. We're like the people who didn't have any money when we first got married, so we didn't really have a honeymoon. We just kind of started marriage without that, so that's my excuse. And so we went to this place, and it was awesome. And we went to the waterfalls in the rainforest, and they were amazing, and there were so many waterfalls, and you got to climb down to each and every one. It was spectacular, one of the most memorable things I've ever done. We went snorkeling with these incredible exotic fish in this reef down in Puerto Rico off of one of the smaller islands. And I'm very afraid of the ocean. But this turned out to be a super fun experience because there are a lot of people around you and you're like, shark comes, that guy's going to be first because he's closer to the ocean. So I just kind of stayed in the reef. It was so cool. We loved it. And we got to see the old fortresses. The oldest fortresses in this side of the hemisphere are in Puerto Rico, right? Because Spain set them up. And so it was an all-around amazing experience. Well, on our way back to the States, to Utah, we stopped in Boston for a layover, and we had a few hours. So we got out of the airport and went to go see a movie and just walked around the city a little bit. We went home. We're telling the story to my in-laws, my mother-in-law, of how we went to Puerto Rico and stuff. My wife's like, yeah, and then we saw this movie in Boston. It was so much fun and great. I'm like, what about Puerto Rico? She's like, it was okay. I really like this part in Boston. We went, like, come on. So I think any road trip I took to my wife, she would make the best memories out of it because she doesn't need the fancy islands. I just wish I had done that before I spent all the money.
Yeah.
Right, I remember we went to Puerto Rico on my 15th year Christmas, coming from Iowa, desolate Iowa, cold, freezing, and went to Puerto Rico. I thought it was paradise. I can still remember the smell of the pineapple and bananas we'd eat with cream in the morning, the white sand, and so I'd go back there in a jiffy. We didn't ever do snorkeling, I don't know why. So both your top 4. So
But
we
did
have.
you go to Boston to a movie?
We did not. I was so afraid because I had just learned about the Bermuda Triangle and the plane going through it, and it was my sister and I on the plane flying by ourselves, and all this gas was just spilling out of the wing, and it was like rocky and sinking, and I thought I was going to die. But other than that, it was a fantastic trip. Okay, your first. All right. So you're going to put your top 2.
On 2 separate pieces of
Wait,
paper?
remind us, Bart.
The top 2.
Yeah, so who participated was Bart, Patrick, Mark, and Weston. Okay? And then Stephen.
So do we put the name on what number we think they were?
Yes,
doesn't matter,
but
it's
just doesn't matter.
Say you're all winners.
There's 2 names on 2 pieces of paper, right?
2 pieces.
2 names on 2 pieces.
Oh, I don't think that's done 2 pieces.
Run it back.
Just one.
Yeah,
Put them on
piece
one.
is fine.
Yeah, we could just do
Oh,
that.
it'll be
You just have to
easier.
build it.
I have to be able to.
Yeah, because he can sort them.
Have some accounting.
Oh, you want to build the store.
All right, you want 2 different pieces of paper?
If you can.
What? I didn't realize my pen dried out.
Just tear it in half between where you wrote the names, and that will make 2.
Oh, there we go. That worked.
All right, as soon as those are collected, we'll get Bart up there with his table topics.
Thank you, Carolyn. Caroline. Bart will be up next as soon as he is done participating in his voting to start the next table topic.
I'm not as prepared as Carolyn, so you're going to have to pick a number and I'll tell you the question.
Uh-oh.
But the topic is goals.
Goals.
Goals and goal setting. What?
I should have just been the first one. I need more gold.
So, who wants to be the first person? Come on up.
Vic.
Pick a number between 1 and 4.
3.
3. 3 would be, what is the biggest accomplishment that you're most proud of, and why?
It's a very good question. I recently have had to reconsider what I think is my best accomplishment, because I just had a baby 3 months ago.
God, talent.
I decided it wasn't it. It's not about that. It's about being a father and actually being alive still. I don't know. I came from a family of 11 kids, so I thought that would be a pretty big accomplishment. But I still think the biggest accomplishment that I have ever done in my life is getting my wife to marry me. Much harder than having a baby. So, for you, maybe. For me. Well, this is my accomplishment, not my wife's, okay? So, let's be fair to me. So, yeah, meeting my wife, I, for a long time, had fought even the idea of online dating. This is the dumbest thing. Sometimes I would get on Tinder, a dating app, just for fun. I would just say yes to every girl, so it wasn't like I was not being selected at all. I just wanted to know what type of girls liked me, so I kind of saw what my options were in the playing field, where I was at. And an end result was I had said yes to somewhere like 2,900 girls, and I had said no to about 1,000. And I'd been on this app for maybe like 3 months. And then my wife, she had said yes to 44 and said no to over 2,000. So I'm one of 44, and I feel pretty happy about that. And then after that, we were even able to, she asked me on our first date, so I didn't have to do that. She asked me on our first date. And everything just worked perfect. She texted me first, she contacted me first, everything was absolutely perfect. End result was that I must have said something right, because our first conversation was just, what do we hate about dating? And she loved that. And so that hooked her in right away, and the rest is history. Now we have a baby, so that's my greatest accomplishment.
You don't get to leave.
Sorry.
You're good.
Sure.
Come on up.
Oh, come
There
on.
you go. So you can pick from 1, 2, or 4.
13, I think.
That's
1 and
Let's
3
pretend
and 4.
4 is
1 plus 3
13.
is 4.
It's
Yeah.
1 and 3.
Okay.
13.
That's true.
Name a goal that you failed at and why, and were you able to fix it?
Okay. I am a little bit, I believe in facing your fears. And lately that's been kind of one of my goals, is to face some fears, do things that get you out of your comfort zone. And so when we were in Mexico in May, there was a little petting zoo at one of the places we went to, and they had a snake. I've never held a snake, so I was like, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. So I held the snake, and honestly, it was
Nice.
kind of cool, kind of soft. I mean, smooth, and it wasn't too crazy. It didn't try to strangle me or bite me. It was pretty calm. And then, I don't know if you guys saw the picture I posted on Facebook a few weeks ago, but my friends have 12 different species of tarantula.
Oh, my gosh.
And I decided I was going to face that one too. So I held a tarantula the other day, and that was rather terrifying. I was kind of taking some breath. She set it on my hand and just holding my breath. And the only way it would move is if you kind of touched its hind legs, and that would take a few steps. So it started to come up this way, and then you'd put your hand here and it would crawl onto there. And honestly, I love it because I feel like some of our fears that are our greatest, once you do it, it's like, that wasn't quite so bad. Like, our fear around it is the biggest. When I was in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago, though, I did not do one of the things I wanted to do. And I was kind of mad at myself, but we went to a swimming hole, and there were little cliffs to jump off of. And I didn't have a problem jumping off of them. There was 10, 15, 20 foot. And so I did jump off all of them, but I was a diver in high school, and I wanted to do some tricks off of them. And I really wanted to do a gainer, which is where you jump off forward, do a backflip, and I can do that off of a diving board, pretty easily. But I stood on the 20-foot cliff for about 20 minutes. And I watched two guys before me attempt a gainer. Obviously, they had no experience, and they slatted. And so instead, I gave in, and I just did a backflip off the 20-foot cliff. So I did do something, but I was a little frustrated that I did not do the gainer that I wanted to. So anyway, that is my story.
Okay, we have two more. Carolyn. You can take from 1 and
2.
2.
I'll take 1.
1. Do you believe in goal setting? Why or why not?
I absolutely believe in goal setting. I have had some of my kids who haven't necessarily had a specific goal, and I will be honest, I have no idea how to support them in their life if I don't know what they're working towards. For me, having a goal, I always have more than one goal. I have spiritual goals, I have financial goals, I have house fixing goals, I have what time I'm going to get up in the morning goals. Goals to me are just a part, and have always been a part of my life. I remember having notes in my room as a kid with the goals that I was going to accomplish. For me, I live by goals, and I work at as having my kids understand that living life with a purpose, what you're working towards, what it is that you're wanting to, where do you want to be at the end of the year? Where do you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be in 5 years? I have the opinion that if we don't have direction in our lives and know exactly why we're getting up every morning, one day turns into the next day, turns into the next week, turns into the next month, and you still have that same weight, your room looks the same, your hairstyle is no different than it was 50 years ago. And so for me, goals are an important part of progress, plus it's measurable. You either have achieved your goal or you haven't, and you could realign if you're not achieving your goals. And I love the feeling of satisfaction. I ran a couple of marathons a few years ago. I had a goal of only running a half marathon, and my friend said, half marathon? It's just too easy, Carolyn, so let's run a marathon. So we trained for a marathon, and in the process of running 20 miles, she said, there's a marathon coming up even sooner than the one we were working towards, and what's 6 more miles after we've already run 20? So we ended up running 2 marathons within 3 weeks of each other, because why not?
Come on up. Mary Ann.
Okay. I'll keep track of yours. Hang on.
Okay, I want number 2, please.
Number 2.
Yeah, good choice.
500.
500, I got it.
What is your biggest goal right now, and what steps do you have in place to accomplish it?
My biggest goal right now is to make the best life I could ever make. Now, it kind of began when I was young. I was a little girl, and I said, Mom, I want to get married and have kids. And she said, oh, Marianne, how about you wait a little while? Okay. So I did. Right out of college, I got married, and it was great for 3 weeks. And after that, it kind of was horrible. Well, that kind of rolled around, and I did have the children, and I can tell you they are wonderful. And after many years of being married, all of a sudden my teenage foster girl comes to me and says, Mom, I gotta tell you something. Something that I really need to tell you something. Okay, let's sit down. I need to tell you what Dad's been doing to me.
Oh.
And I went, oh my gosh, my life it just flashed before me. And within a couple hours, he was gone, went to prison, and I became suddenly single. I said, hey, what happened? When you were young, this was all supposed to turn out nice and pretty, and it did not. And whatever word you say in there, but to go to the next one, life does move on. And what happened was I said, okay, all the pieces have fallen apart. They are now in total shambles. Your life is shattered. So pick that piece up, look at it, pick that piece up. What kind of life do you want? Put those two together. That one up, there's a green one, there's a red one. Put it together and you can create whatever life you want in all these pieces. And now I have this beautiful mosaic picture that I became that person. And now my life is fantastic with the most wonderful man, and my life is perfect, all because I set out, I wanted an ideal life, and I'm living it now.
Wonderful.
Okay, that is the 4. Timers report.
All right in time.
And remind us all for.
So we have Marianne, we have Weston, we have Arion,
Sam.
Sam,
Weston gets voted for twice though.
Ariane.
Arion, and Carolyn.
And Carol.
And I figured out the finer points of vote counting. If you'd like to write on a single piece of paper, I think I can handle that. I can be taught.
So you got to put a pile, you can just take tally marks.
No, it's his thing.
I don't think it's anything
Yeah, it's his
Well, why don't you talk until the votes are counted and we have the 4. Tell us something cool. I turn the time, I yield my time back to Arion.
While he is vote counting, I will share something. I just mentioned it to Josh. On Sunday, we talked to our kids and we said, we all got to face a fear today. We got to do something that you're scared of or that makes you a little uncomfortable. And my son has, you guys are gonna laugh at this, but we believe that if we start teaching our kids driving young enough, like as young as possible, that is the best time to give them experience. Because I didn't start till later on, and I had 5 or 6 car accidents between 16 and 18. And my 10-year-old son is still a little nervous about it, but my 11 and 13-year-old girls do it every Sunday. We go to a parking lot, we just practice pulling into spots and reversing and just going through the parking lot. We don't take them on main roads, right?
You weren't here for Bart's speech last week, right?
Or his that he just, the table talk at the top.
I know, we're being very, very cautious, but anyway. So my son he had to choose between driving his dirt bike or going in the car for a few minutes. So he accomplished that. And then my other little girl said she's scared of the dark. So this sounds terrible. My husband had her go in the bathroom for a whole minute, shut off the lights, and he stood outside the door for moral support. And she totally did it and came out and was like, that was nothing. So we're like, yay! And my other daughter, this is a huge accomplishment. She has a lot of fears. And she always has someone sleep in her room at night. She's my 13-year-old. And she said, I'm going to try sleeping by myself tonight. And she did it 2 nights in a row.
Wow.
And so I was so proud of her. Now, they couldn't come up with anything for me to do because they're like, well, she should swim in the deep, dark lake. They're like, oh, she does that all the time. And I was like, I've already held a tarantula and a snake now. And I guess my fears would be more eating stuff that I don't like anything pickled, like pickles.
Like a pickled tarantula.
That would be the ideal for me. So anyway,
Yeah, no kidding.
that is something that happened after the weekend. Do we have our vote?
No, you want the top 2 for the first part and the top 2 for the second part? All right, the first part. Patrick and Mark.
You said Mark or Bart?
Mark.
Okay, sorry, that sounds similar.
And to counteract the men, we have the women. Ariane, gosh dang it, and Marianne.
So now we have to go outside?
So we're going to have a sergeant of arms, it'll be you. Well, it actually can be the actual sergeant of arms.
The actual sergeant of arms, Sam.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it could be.
Sam,
Take
I
them
vote you.
out.
Get him out.
And who wants to go first? One of you can stay here. Who wants to go
Like
first?
all the way out or just downstairs?
No, all the way out.
All the
You wanna
way
go
out.
first or last?
And then you come back up the stairs.
Who's gonna go first?
We need one to stay here.
One to stay. Marianne, that's you. That's good, because you either want to go first or last. So you, first impressions or most recent bias?
Now, if I can get those ands and
Tell him
ums
an
out,
HR
I'll be doing
professional.
well.
Who's still here? Weston? Okay.
So we're the ones that'll be voting. Everybody else cannot vote.
Nobody else can vote.
They can't vote.
2, 4, 6.
I guess they can vote for themselves if they want.
No. I think,
Because we can't hear everybody else's anyway.
It is wrong to vote for yourself when you're competing.
no, it's,
Unless you're Jill.
if you're thinking you're the only one
I
that's going
think
to get
that
a
you should
vote.
always vote for yourself.
Always.
Confidence in yourself.
I know.
I'm literally never.
So I'm pretty honest.
Well,
if
you're
I
running
think
for
I'm
president, would
good.
you vote for yourself? Would you-
Okay, here's the question. Here is the
That's usually
who
what I
is
do. I
someone
understand.
that has
Conflict of
inspired you?
interest. Okay, sorry.
What is the most important thing you learned from them, and how has that influenced your life? Good job, Jess.
He's not here.
Timing. Hold on.
Okay, there are 3 parts to that.
Wait.
We have time.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, shoot.
Oh, I'm not starting yet. I'm I'm discombobulated. Oh, it's 3. Okay.
Yes.
Who?
Who has inspired you?
This can work.
How?
Now you need to
What
recombobulate.
is the most important thing you learned from them, and how has it influenced your life?
What have I learned and how it's influenced?
Yeah. Who,
Who?
what,
There is a person that has inspired me more than anybody else. And this person is actually kind of nameless. He's the brother. You know, there's been this long story that I read about, and it's called, he had a brother named Jared. And so we call him the brother of Jared. That's just his name. Now you ask, how in the world did you learn from this person that's in this story? And you don't even know his name. He's just the brother of Jared. Well, I can tell you, he asked 2 very important questions. He was instructed to build these big ships, barges, and they had this top on them, and he got them all built, and he realized 2 things. One, I cannot breathe. How are we supposed to breathe when we're in this ship? And the second question he asked was, and how in the world am I supposed to see? Those 2 questions now rule my life, because I ask those same questions every day. How am I going to breathe? And how am I going to see? You ask, what do you mean? You just breathe in, breathe out. However, that's not what I breathe. I breathe in joy. How do I breathe in joy? And how do I let out the negative so that my life can be filled with joy? That is the question that I ask that I learned from this brother of Jared. Second question is, how do I see? Now, I see through tunnel vision because that is my life. Yet, however, I want to see everything I possibly can see. So I ask every day, how can I see the hearts and the love of other people and how I can bring more joy into their lives? So the person that I helped, the person I learned from was this man named Brother of Jared. How I learned from him, what I learned from him was to ask two questions. How do I breathe and how do I see? And every day that fills my life up with joy and happiness. That has affected me forever.
Next.
And do I have to leave?
No, you can stay.
Yeah, you're good now.
That's why you do it first. Did you ever
Yeah.
figure out?
Actually, I was the last one down the stairs.
Did you ever
Yeah.
learn his name? Mahan Rai Mori Ankamer? Oh. The mystery
The
guy.
one you should not mention. Oh wait, that's a different story.
Yeah. I don't remember that. The Voldemort. No, we're not supposed to mention it.
Up next, Miss Ariane.
I'm just gonna claim that this is just by chance that, you know. Anyway,
That's your
table
name?
topics are hard.
Okay.
I love table topics.
Who is someone that inspired you? What is the most important thing you learned from them? And how has it influenced your life?
All right. I am going to go with my husband, and that probably sounds kind of cheesy, but I have learned so much from him. And I know I've given a few speeches and shared some of my experiences, but he has shown me so much about love. And I was just talking to my friend the other day, and I was like, sometimes you just want to have a fight. You just want to argue with them just when you have all the energy come up. You just want to get it out. But we can't fight because he just always apologizes. And he always says, honey, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. You're not going to leave me, are you? I'm like, no, but I can be mad once in a while. And he has taught my children the same type of thing. In fact, the other day, he's taught me a lot, and I've tried to pass that on. The other day, my son, I heard him say something to his sister. They'd been actually getting along that day, which was a good thing. And she had made a mistake with something, and my other daughter was berating her. And my son came up to my daughter, and he said, I understand how you feel. I've made mistakes like that before, too. And he said, it's okay. And I heard that from the other room, and I came running in, and I grabbed a dollar bill out of my pocket, and I handed it to him, and I said, that is for showing compassion and empathy. Because compassion and empathy are something in your life that are going to take you so far. I feel like there's nothing more than love, compassion, and empathy. And I feel like my husband has taught me so much of that, and I've learned so much from him. And then, of course, raising our kids together. And I've become a better person because I've learned how to show that also. So my husband inspires me.
Man, this is awesome.
Yes.
No, we made yours just a little bit harder.
Yeah, we made yours, we upped it a level, like we added a little bit to it.
Recombobulated.
Yeah, we recombobulated it. Next up, where are they hanging down there, Sam?
Just right outside the door.
He's got them in the bathroom.
Yeah. He's got her.
Locked him in the bathroom.
Just make stairs today.
He was wondering if we should just have an elevator. I thought that might be a little awkward.
No, that wasn't my leg. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay, question from Jesse.
All right.
Who is someone that inspired you? What was the most important thing you learned from them? And how did it influence your life?
Okay, are we ruling out parents?
No, don't ruling out.
Jesus.
Sky's the limit. Anybody you want to.
Okay. All right. So, the most important person to me, who inspired me the most, was my dad, of course. My dad has a really interesting story, actually. When I was born, he was a professional wrestler, like WWF, that kind. My dad's a big guy. And, it's funny because we have all these pictures of him in Speedos throwing other hairy guys around, and it's hilarious. He's funny like that, but he's also very introverted. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He's now a policeman. He was a policeman for 25 years, just retired. He does security now. But he's a simple guy who always goes after his goals and what he really wants. And I remember my dad didn't tell me a whole lot when I was growing up. He didn't have all this fatherly advice that he would set us down. My mom did all the time. My mom never stopped talking, which was great. My mom has her own style, and I learned a ton from her. But my dad said, one time I remember he said this, he said, it doesn't matter what you do professionally. You could be a garbage can cleaner, and I would be proud of you as long as you're doing something honest. And I know that is something simple. That's how my dad was. Ironically, I own a janitorial company where we take out garbage. So maybe my dad regrets saying that at this point. But to know that such a simple, hardworking, honest man believed in me and cared enough about me as a kid to tell me that he would be proud of me no matter what I did as long as it was honest meant the world to me. Thanks.
Wow, this is going to be a tough vote.
If I walk in, you say to me, trip, please sit down.
Got you out of breath so that you can speak.
Exactly. To work on your breathing, there's a purpose to everything we do.
Here is the big question. Who is someone that inspired you? What is the most important thing you learned from them? And how has it influenced your life?
Okay. All right, so my dad is a construction worker, right? And he is a tough guy. He used to always have this mustache. I never saw him before in my entire life without a mustache on his face. And he, honestly, curses like a sailor. He's working construction. And he's a hard around the edges guy. He's not very talkative. There's not a whole lot of one-on-one. But he's one of the most inspirational people to me, and one of the people that I've looked up to the most to be able to be like he is. Because he works so hard and loves so much. It's hard for him to say that, but his actions speak way louder than his words. And the way that he treats us as kids, and the way he's willing to go beyond the extra mile to where most people stop here, he can go further. And he was able to create a life for us growing up that I saw a man that would work hours upon hours and come home and help us and do all these things. And that's what I wanted to be like. I wanted to be like that. And when I finally got out on my own, when I finally went to school, when I finally went on my mission, I realized more and more what a great inspiration he was to me. And I realized more and more that I wanted to be like that in every aspect. I wanted to make some changes, obviously. I wanted to be able to tell someone that I love them and have that conversational basis with someone. But to be like he is my number one goal. And so he is one that has changed my life.
Timer's report.
They were all in time.
All in dimey.
So now we just pick one?
Pick one.
Pick
Pick the
uno.
grand champion.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis.
I got one. Didn't have one. I had two, but I only have one.
One.
I think we have 6, 7 can vote with Sam, but Sam was gone for.
Name this movie. One king only, please.
You heard it?
Red October.
Which one? 20 years.
What are we saying? What were we?
One king only, please. I can't who.
Are those new glasses?
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Have you voted yet?
I have.
Oh, okay, for you.
That was good.
What everybody think of the format?
I love that. That was fun.
Yeah, that's good.
Got to hear from a lot of people.
So that's something that if you ever wanted to do, we could do it again. The reason we did it is because nobody jumped into the contest. So Jesse jumped in and said he will represent us at the area for a humorous speech the humorous side. If anyone wants to jump in by default and be on the tall tale side,
Get Susan. You just,
I thought they were both
you-
tall tales and humorous.
we'll just go right
Two different
together.
ones.
what's that?
I mean, we'll just go right to it instead of presenting
No,
it different.
yep.
Or a humorous.
You're just by default because we don't have anybody
So when
representing
is
us.
You couldn't
the,
tell a
when is it?
humorous tall tale.
September 9th at the AF Library.
I'm trying to overcome fear and set a goal, like so many people said. To learn how to write a tall tale speech, so I'll see if I can.
There we go.
Okay, so whoever jumps in first does it. I'm gonna turn the time back over to you to announce the winner.
We have a winner. Would you like me to say it, or would you like to know?
You should announce that.
Just say it.
There.
Stand up.
Overwhelming.
Drum roll.
Overwhelming vote.
Now she hasn't done her first, she hasn't done her icebreaker speech.
Can I tell you, oh, no, I haven't. Can I tell you that I used to be so afraid to talk to people? I couldn't even look at them in the eye. I looked at their chin, and I looked down most of the time, and it's only been less than 10 years that I've become this new person.
Well,
You got recombobulated.
you bring great energy, you're entertaining, and you bring something meaningful every time, let's see, and you follow a structure. Every time. Every time. So,
Very
good job.
good.
You're brilliant.
I missed it.
Must mean perfection.
We have a ribbon.
Yay!
First one.
It's not just some dumb blue ribbon, okay?
Yeah, no one's gotten a yellow ribbon so far.
It's a yellow ribbon.
So you're
It's on my fridge, guys. Cheer on it. Thank you.
You have to. Got it.
All right. Well, I thought today was a lot of fun, and we got to hear from a lot of people. I thought it was fun participating.
We're going to do the master and the
Oh, yes.
recombobulation.
And, at the end of this week, who participated may need to recombobulate our brains.
Yeah.